have it. Jai Radha Madhav Kunj Bihari Radha Madhav Kunj Bihari Radha Madhav Kunj Bihari Radha Madhav Kunj Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana 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 Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira वनचारी जमुना तीर वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। जयम विष्णुपद परमहंस प्रवृजगाचार्य अष्टोत्तरशत श्री श्रीमद श्री अभय चरणानंद भक्ति वेदांत साई महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नाम आचार्य श्री ठाकुर हरिदास की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। गंगा यमुना मई की जय। भक्ति देवी तुलसी रानी की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्भागवतम की जय। इस्कॉन पीबीथी संस्थापक आचार्य श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। श्री श्री गौरनीताय की जय। जगन्नाथ बलराम सुभद्र महारानी की जय। श्री श्री रुक्मिणी द्वारकाधीश की जय। श्री द्वारका धाम की जय। गौ प्रेमानंदे। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishne Swadhamopagate Dhanamajnanadibhisaha Kalaunashtadrishamesha Puranarko Dhunodita. Today we're on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 16, Text number 5. Please repeat. Yat namani cha grihnati lokaham bhritye krata agasi sah asadhu vadah tat kirtim hanti tvacham iva amayah yannamani cha grihnati loko bhritye kritagasi so sadhuvadastat kirtim hanti tvachamivāmayah yannamani cha grihnati loko bhritye kritagasi so sadhuvadastat kirtim hanti tvachamivāmayah yannamani cha grihnati loko bhritye kritagasi so sadhuvadastat kirtim hanti tvachamivāmayah yannamani cha grihnati loko bhritye kritagasi so sadhuvadastat kirtim hanti tvachamivāmayah yannamani cha grihnati loko bhritye kritagasi so sadhuvadastat kirtim hanti tvachamivāmayah yannamani cha grihnati loko bhritye kritagasi so sadhuvadastat kirtim hanti tvachamivāmayah yannamani cha grihnati loko bhritye kritagasi so sadhuvadastat kirtim hanti tvachamivāmayah. Ladies. Yannamani cha grihnati loko bhritye kritagasi so sadhuvadastat kirtim hanti tvachamivāmayah yannamani cha grihnati loko bhritye kritagasi so sadhuvadastat kirtim hanti tvachamivāmayah yat of whom namani the names cha and grihnati take lokah people in general bhritye when a servant krita agasi has committed something wrong sah that asadhuvadah blame asadhuvada not sadhuvada sadhuvada is praise asadhuvada oh not good tat of that person kirtim the reputation hanti destroys tvacham the skin iva as amayah leprosy. Translation: a wrong act committed by a servant leads people in general to blame his master, just as a spot of white leprosy on any part of the body pollutes all the skin. Please repeat. A wrong act committed by a servant leads people in general to blame his master, Just as a spot of white leprosy on any part of the body pollutes all the skin. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder and Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Savior of the modern world, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. A Vaishnava, therefore, should be fully qualified. Period. As stated in the Bhagavatam, anyone who has become a Vaishnava has developed all the good qualities of the demigods. There are 26 qualifications mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. A devotee should always see that his Vaishnava qualities increase with the advancement of his Krishna consciousness. A devotee should be blameless because any offense by the devotee is a scar on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The devotee's duty is to be always conscious in his dealings with others, especially with another devotee of the Lord. Om Jnana Timirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yutapalakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Madgavira Bigopalak Swikuryat Kripaya Yadi Tadaiva Sampayah Pitva Rishayustat Priyajanaha Yan Namani Chagrahnati Loko Bhritye Kritagasi So Asadhuvadas Tat Kirtim Hanti Twacham Ivamayaha. A wrong act committed by a servant leads people in general to blame his master, just as a spot of white leprosy on any part of the body pollutes all the skin. We know from the commentary of Sridhar Swami that we're talking amaya, actually the word here is used amaya. It simply means disease, so he clarifies for us. Amayotra shweta kushtam. That means white leprosy. So, kimcha mamayvaita abhyam anishtam kritam ityaha. Yasya swamino namani tasya kirtim. Moreover, Sridhar Swami says, by saying the irregularity committed by these two servants, that was said in texts 2 and 3, he here explains that a master's names means his repute. Whatever people call the master, that is the state of his reputation. And whatever the servant does, that is the cause of criticism of his master. If he does something wrong, it's cause of criticism. Similarly, if he does something good, it's glorification for him. So Vamshidhara, as Sridhar Swami's commentary, he also says, in case somebody thinks, how can the Supreme Lord commit an offense? What wrong have you done? Then Sridhar Swami says, that's why he says kincha here, what's more. Even the point is that even if there was an offense, who is there who's going to punish it? If the Supreme Lord is committing an offense. That's not possible. So, it's not his fault. In other words, Sridhar Swami is addressing the fact that we know that he has arranged this whole thing. The Lord himself admits in this passage. He's actually arranged everything. These Jaya Vijaya are faultless, the four Kumars also faultless, but he made them commit some flaw just to bring out the pastimes. And also to give this lesson here, it's an important lesson. So, these two, the word etabhyam means Jaya and Vijaya, saying this person's servant has committed a wrongdoing, then the blame goes only to the master. Just like saying this man's skin has leprosy, that means it's a criticism. He's generating a criticism. Jiva Goswami doesn't comment on this verse, but Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in effect the same thing. The conclusion is, when a servant commits a sin, taking the name of his master, then the master gets criticized for it, and his fame is destroyed, just as white spot on the skin condemns one as a leper. We don't see this here in America. Everybody here has white leprosy. But sometimes you see people in India, they're kind of blotchy. So somebody may criticize. Of course, we've already heard, one should not criticize such things in devotees. It's not valid. As I see it, there are three main points in this purport. Srila Prabhupada first of all emphasizes that devotee himself displays all the divine qualities of the Lord. That's to say, if you are a devotee, you will display these qualities. So it's something we have to meditate on, and therefore Srila Prabhupada, second point he makes, a devotee should actually ensure that this is the case in his own life. By serious practice of Krishna consciousness, we should awaken. Not awaken exactly, but we should remove the anarthas that are blocking the view of our own divine qualifications. We'll get to that in a moment. And then finally, Srila Prabhupada warns that a devotee should very carefully avoid offending others, especially other devotees, always. So there are several related references we know from Bhagavad Gita. Yad yadacharati shreshtas tat tat evetoro janaha. Whatever a great person does, if you are a follower of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, you're a great person. You may not feel like it, but you're heads and shoulders above everyone else in this world if you have the knowledge that Srila Prabhupada is giving in these books. And so you have a responsibility. Ramanujacharya in chapter 18, throughout Bhagavad Gita, it's stated that, like Krishna says in chapter 4, text number 10, Jnana tapasa puta. We are purified by the austerity of knowledge. Why is knowledge and austerity? Number one, you have to accumulate it. Number two, you have to live by it. That's harder. Number three, you have to share it. And often your audience is not really very receptive. So it's an austerity knowledge. But by that, taking that austerity, then we become Shrestha. And whatever we speak, if it's based on Shastra, then people will take that as the standard. In fact, if you're a follower of Srila Prabhupada, then whatever you speak, even if it's not based on Shastra, then people will still take it as the standard, and that is the danger. Because when things go awry at that point, then people are going to blame whom? Yes? What kind of guru can produce disciples? In fact, they do say like this. Implicitly, just like we have Ritvik theories, not monolithic. There are many different kinds of Ritvik theory, but they assume that nobody is qualified. So one can criticize, what kind of guru is it? He can't even produce one person who's able to carry on the parampara. This is one example. That's negated, of course, by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Harinam Chintamani. Chapter 8, if I recall, he says, as long as he has good character and is devotee in good standing and has at least rudimentary knowledge of the philosophy, in other words, even a bona fide Kanishta Adhikari can become a guru. Prabhupada says as much in Nectar Devotion, text 5 as well in its purport. Better than that is a Madhyama Adhikari, but the best thing is to find an Uttama Adhikari guru. That's really what is meant by Shrestha. Now, Sridhar Swami's commentary has raised essentially the same doubt that the Yamadutas expressed in the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam, because they didn't really understand their teacher's real principles. They didn't understand Yamaraja's actual teaching. They were trying to arrest somebody who was actually, according to Bhagavad Dharma, was in good standing because he chanted the holy name. So that's extreme mercy, of course, but it's important because, as Prabhupada explains, any disciple has to be very careful what he does, because his activities will reflect either well or poorly on his spiritual master. Prabhupada writes in 6th canto, chapter 3, I think it is, text number 4 in the purport. Because the Yamadutas had been defeated and their master could not protect them, they were inclined to say that there was no need to serve such a master. If a servant cannot carry out the orders of his master without being defeated, then what is the use of serving such a powerless master? This is an example of this principle that Sridhar Swami raises here. And it's not really that surprising, actually, if this happens, because in the same chapter in text 19, we hear that even though fully situated in the mode of goodness, even the great rishis who occupy the topmost planets cannot ascertain the real religious principles, nor can the demigods or the leaders of Siddhaloka, to say nothing of asuras, ordinary human beings, or even vidyadharas and charanas, can understand what is really dharma. But as much as we can, disciples should not inadvertently misrepresent their spiritual master. Now, and it's understood that this comes naturally through devotional service. If we are sincerely engaged in intense devotional service, that's called Tivra Bhakti in the 2nd canto, then all good qualities will come about. What kind of good qualities? Krishna lists in chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita all the kinds of qualities that endear someone to him. So if you're trying to get on Krishna's good side, consider these things. I won't read the Sanskrit, but one who is not envious, but he's a kind friend. He doesn't think himself a proprietor. He's free of false ego. He's equal in both happiness and distress. He's tolerant, satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on Krishna. Such a devotee, Krishna says, is very dear to him. When that devotee is equal, because he considers whenever something bad happens or he's undergoing an unpleasant experience, he thinks, Tate anukampam susamikshamano. I have to just see this thing out because I cooked this meal and now I have to eat it. Evatma kritam vipakam. So this is tolerance. And Krishna continues, nobody is put into difficulty by a devotee, and a devotee is not disturbed by anyone else either. He's equipoised in happiness and distress, fear or anxiety. If he has that qualification, he's very dear to Krishna. And a devotee is not depending on the ordinary course of activities. He's pure, expert, without care, and free from all pains, and not striving for some fruitive result. If he has those qualifications, he's dear to Krishna. One who neither rejoices or grieves, who doesn't lament or desire, who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things, such a devotee, Krishna says, is dear to me. We're just paraphrasing chapter 12, texts 13 through 20, if I recall. And somebody who's equal to both friends and enemies, And he's equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who's always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, doesn't care for any residence, and is fixed in knowledge and engaged in devotional service. That person is very dear to Krishna. How many times have we heard throughout Bhagavad Gita, as well as Srimad Bhagavatam, phrases like this, Tulyanandastuti mauni santushto yena kena chitta, to be equal in happiness and distress. Why does he say it so much? Because you need to hear this so much. Why do we need to hear it? Because we're going through distress, or we're going through happiness. Somebody doesn't get giddy in happiness and forget all the goal of life. Somebody who doesn't get completely overwhelmed by despondence when things go wrong, that is a person who is equipoised. And what's the point of this? When someone has these qualifications, it means he's Brahmabhuta. He realizes he's not his body, in fact. And Krishna says in that state, in chapter 18, then he gets real devotional service, parabhakti. Mad bhaktim labhate param. So, and finally, he who follows this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engages with faith, making me the supreme goal, is very, very dear to him. So all we have to do is do this. We just have to try to cultivate these qualifications as best as we can under our current limitations, but most importantly, execute the process of bhakti yoga as faithfully and diligently as we can, and it is guaranteed that we will become purified. All of our natural qualities will shine through, and we will become so dear to Krishna as he describes in chapter 12. In his purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions here, 5th canto, chapter 18, text 12, famous verse, because it helps us to assimilate the three main points that he made in today's purport. What are those three main points again? At least this is my purport. You have to recognize that a devotee has all good qualifications. That's the acid test. And you also have to try to manifest those qualities through sincere devotional service. And third thing, you have to be very careful in dealing with others, especially other Vaishnavas, so as not to offend them. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sarvair gunais tatra samasate suraha harava bhaktasya kuto mahadguna manorathena siddhavapto bahi. All the demigods and their exalted qualities, such as religion, knowledge, and renunciation, become manifest in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. On the other hand, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in material activities has no good qualities. Even if he's adept at the practice of mystic yoga or the honest endeavor of maintaining his family and relatives, he must be driven by his own mental speculations and must engage in the service of the Lord's external energy. How can there be any good qualities in such a man? Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport, we are all parts and parcels of Krishna. Because we're parts and parcels of Krishna, he says here, quote, all living entities are part and parcel of Krishna, and therefore, when they revive their original Krishna consciousness, they possess all the good qualities of Krishna in a small quantity. When one engages himself in the 9 processes of devotional service, one's heart becomes purified and he immediately understands his relationship with Krishna. Then he revives his original quality of Krishna consciousness. And Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita outlines 26 such qualities. There were more than that, but he outlines at least 26. He notes that these qualities were very prominent in the character of whom? I'm thinking Adi Lila, one particular devotee. These qualities, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, the Vaishnava qualities, they were very prominent in one devotee. Okay, I won't argue with that. Haridas Pandit, yes. Sri Haridas Pandit. He was Pujari at Radha Govinda temple. And he was described as being very well behaved. Raise your hand if you're well behaved. We have to think about this. And he was very tolerant, he was very peaceful, magnanimous, grave. What does grave mean? No. No. Huh? Thoughtful? No. Huh? No. Heavy? No. At least going by Rupa Goswami's definition in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, grave actually means nobody understands what you're thinking or what you're planning. Like Swavas Prabhu. He's grave. This is gravity. Maybe there's another definition in the English dictionary, I don't know, but I'm going by what Goswami says. So these are some of the Vaishnava qualities. Let's continue now. He's kind to everyone. He doesn't make anyone his enemy. He's truthful. He's equal to everyone. No one can find any fault in him. Raise your hand if that's you. I mean, I'm the last person actually to be trying to speak about these things because anyway, you all know. But he's truthful. He's equal to everyone. No one can find any fault in him. He's magnanimous. He's mild. He's always clean. He's without possession. He works for everyone's benefit. He's very peaceful. He's always surrendered to Krishna. He has no material desires. He's very meek. He's steady. He controls his senses. He doesn't eat more than required. He's not influenced by the Lord's external energy. He offers respect to everyone. Jatha jatha, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Shakale shaman korite shakti dehonata jatha jatha. It doesn't mean that you respect everyone as a Paramahamsa, and it also doesn't mean that you respect everyone as a Kanishta Adhikari. It means you respect everyone according to his actual position. And that's not easy to do. What does it require to do that? Empathy. Krishna says in chapter 6, text 32, the person who has empathy is the best yogi, in my opinion. Chapter 6, text 32, Bhagavad Gita. So, these are some of the qualifications. Offers respect to everyone. He doesn't desire any respect for himself. Have we heard these things before? What does Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say about this? Yes, exactly. Everything is there if you embrace this one verse. Tranadapi sunichena tororivasashishnana amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. It's so important verse. So important that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami himself, the author of this list that we're reading, says you take this verse, string it around your neck, never forget it. Everything will come from these four simple things. More humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, ready to give respect to others, not expecting it yourself. Then you can really chant. And when we really chant, then all the garbage and infectious stuff within our hearts, it's all taken out by the holy name. And then what's left in our hearts? The natural, innate characteristics of the soul, which are these 26 qualities. As we said earlier, then they shine through. So, he's very grave, we said already. He's merciful, he's friendly, he's poetic. Devotees are poetic. He's expert and he's silent. Now, we're still talking about 5th canto, chapter 18, text 12. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana. How many know this verse? Raise your hand if you know this verse by heart. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana. 2 people have raised their hand. Is that a good thing? How are you going to recognize, how are you going to develop these qualities if you don't even understand the principle? So we have to know these things. The austerity of the tongue, Krishna says, it consists partly of regularly reciting Vedic literature. That's, if you want to learn a verse, that's how you do it. You put it on a flashcard, tape it to the light switch. Every time you turn on the light, you read the verse. Jo kuch bhi karna padega. Whatever you have to do to memorize the verses, we should do this. All right, so Sridhar Swami says, he explains the result in this verse of cleansing the filth from one's mind in this Yasyasti Bhaktir verse. He says, unmotivated, akinchana, here in this verse, the word is used, bhagavati akinchana. Unmotivated means nishkama. You don't have any material desires. No separate desire from Krishna. Pure devotional service to Lord Hari arises in a pure mind, and then in that state of grace, all the demigods, along with all their good qualities, such as dharma, gyan, and etc., they completely reside therein. Completely. Samyak asate. Samasate. What does that mean? How do the good qualities arise? Because the non-devotee is running from, well, anyway, we won't read that. Jiva Goswami answers that question. He says they come about through devotional service. And samasate, he says, means the demigods come in and they remain under control. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur further explains how that's so. All of our senses have presiding deities, is it not? Have we heard this? Like, who's the presiding deity of the sun? I'm sorry, I gave it away. Presiding deity of your eyes, that is the sun. Like this, every tongue has presiding deity, the sense of touch, everything. So, these presiding deities of the senses in the material world, they live only with bad qualities in conditioned souls, in materialistic people. And the devatas, but they still have to deal with samsara because that's their job, so to speak. So what is their position? They don't always dwell with the jnanis absorbed in contemplating oneness, or with the karmis who are engaged in fruitive activity. They don't actually like to do that job, but they do it. So what do? It's like anybody who goes to work. They clock in, they do their job, and they clock out as soon as they can. This is what Jiva Goswami says. That's why he says here in this verse, 5th canto verse, the demigods come and stay with the devotee, because they're thinking, we're going to die today or tomorrow, and if we die in the company of these ungrateful people that we're trying to administer their karma, then what will be our position? It's better for us to get the association of a pure devotee. That's the key. Akinchana means nishkama bhakta, a pure devotee. So they daily dwell, and only with all their good qualities within the devotees who distribute spiritual knowledge. This is what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says. Relishing the sweetness of the Lord. If you have a taste for Krishna consciousness, and you are distributing that Krishna consciousness daily, then the demigods come within your heart, and they stay within your heart, and you get purified by the process of Krishna consciousness, not because of their presence. They're not going to come, actually, until you get purified. But we know, Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punyashravana Kirtana Hridiya Abhadrasto Hi Abhadrani Vidhunoti. Krishna's clearing all the things out when we're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So the demigods think we're just like crude iron, and this Prabhu is like molten gold. We're just like iron, being material, but becoming spiritual by contact with Krishna and his devotees. We become Krishna's devotees too. Their humility. Demigods have humility more than us. They're thinking that they can be purified by associating with devotees. Even the devotee may be a human being. So, having attained knowledge of the Lord's form and qualities, they continually relish the sweetness of the Lord. They think, with this devotee's association, we can cross over death at least. This is what they conclude with bliss and astonishment. Now the key word here is akinchana, which he's already glossed as nishkama. We have to become really serious and sincere, which means selfless, in following the orders of the spiritual master very diligently. That's how we become Krishna conscious. And simply by becoming Krishna conscious in this way, then all this wonderful blossoming occurs, and we become the kinds of devotees that are discussed here. So yanami chagrahnati logo bhritye kritagasi so sadhuvadas tatkirtim hanti tvachamivamayaha. Just as a person's reputation is destroyed in the material world by having some disease, so similarly a master will take the blame for whatever his foolish servant does wrong. But the opposite thing is also true. If you become a pure devotee, if you do something for Srila Prabhupada and make him smile, then automatically the demigods will come and stay within your heart, and automatically with that purified heart you will shine. So we'll stop here. Anybody have any questions or any comments? Yes, Maharaj, please.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for your wonderful class. It is nice to hear Srimad Bhagavatam and understand. So you were talking about the grave.
Yes.
The meaning
Yes.
you mentioned. What I would like to say that there are different meanings, right?
Yeah, of course.
One of the meaning here, I found it. Grave means, you can say,
Nobody understands what your plan is, what your mind is.
no, the grave means don't talk nonsense.
Oh, nice. Yes. Very good.
Prabhupada's telling.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, I'm telling you no just for dramatic effect, but actually everybody is giving correct answers for this, what is gravity.
And here there are 26 qualities of Srila Prabhupada.
Oh, yes.
You must be knowing. This is written by Ajitendriya,
Nice.
from San Francisco, I think. About the grave, it's very interesting to hear. Srila Prabhupada once explained to a group of his disciples that a devotee of Lord Krishna always grave. Upon hearing this, one devotee, a very colorful and effusive person, decided to tone down its disposition and became straight-faced in an attempt to please his spiritual master. After a few days of this behavior by his disciple, Srila Prabhupada looked at him quizzically and asked, "What was the matter?"
Are you okay?
The disciple replied that he was trying to be grave.
Yeah.
At that, Srila Prabhupada laughed and explained to him that being grave means to be serious about Krishna consciousness. It has nothing to do with artificially repressing one's individuality. Srila Prabhupada himself was the most vibrant personality. His life abounded with laughter and spiritual enjoyment. Yet, he was always serious about Krishna consciousness. He never forgot Lord Krishna, not even for a moment. In this way, displayed perfect gravity.
Nice. Thank you.
So, actually, this Bhagavatam in New York, I was speaking, same grave word came in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, chapter 24, text 42. In New York, we had a class. I was noting this only. And another place, Prabhupada says, a saintly person does not wish to speak to anyone or everyone. He is therefore grave and silent. So like this is a wonderful understanding. There are 26 qualities of Srila Prabhupada. This was very, very important for every one of us to read and remember Srila Prabhupada 26 qualities. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Shachitanai Prabhu.
So, of the 26 qualities that we just heard, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I heard that the highlight among them is surrendering to Krishna. Surrendering to Krishna.
This is the thing that's brought out not only by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, but the commentators of the Srimad Bhagavatam as well, especially Sridhar Swami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, everyone. We don't have to artificially try to develop these qualities.
Right.
But if we sincerely and seriously practice the basic things that Prabhupada taught us to do, in terms of sadhana bhakti, with the right intention, then automatically these qualities will shine through. Because that process itself is so powerful that it removes all the obstructing factors. The obstructing factors being called anarthas.
In that regards, maybe you can comment on this. Sometimes, most of us, we're just practitioners. Sometimes we use devotee. And when you analyze the word devotee, it's like full surrender. We might not be, or we might have some previous habits. So sometimes I heard some people who are not very, mature, they say, I've been outside seeing that some people had better qualities than you or than you guys. So, and actually, in fact, sometimes we see a lot of gentlemen, a lot of nice people with really good qualities. And sometimes we see some of our practitioners who we're still struggling with, many issues. And it may appear that we are actually not better than the other people outside. But then the point that I'm trying to make is that just because we're trying to surrender to Krishna, that is better chance than the other people who has good qualities. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, the point is, I think simply put, there's a big difference between us and them. Even though they may look cleaner than us, but we're in the shower and they aren't. So that's the point. Somebody is actually surrendering to Krishna, it's just a matter of time before all these qualities are manifest. And another person who's not surrendered to Krishna, he's only got his temporary karma and it looks like he's doing great. But those demigods don't even like being there. They say, as soon as this guy's karma is up, we're out of here. That's the point. This is what the acharyas are making very much about this. Because the non-devotees on the mental platform, even he has good karma for the next 10 million years, the point is that he's going to commit a sinful activity sooner or later, because you have to in this world. There are accidents on even royal roads. And as soon as he does that, then the karma is finished, and then who knows where he ends up. So they don't have, judging by Krishna's definition of reality in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, nasate vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate sata, that reality means that which is eternal, and illusion means that which is temporary. Going by that definition, they don't have any good qualities.
Prabhu, if you allow me to, this is just not in the issue of the class that you gave, but you mentioned something interesting, if there's time. You mentioned that Krishna, if Krishna makes a mistake or does something wrong, who's going to punish him?
Yes.
Right?
This is brought up by the commentators.
But then, on the other side, I was just thinking that there are people who loves Krishna, and for rasa, you can say for rasa, he actually gets punished.
Yes.
And he lies much better, that punishment,
Yes.
than the prayers or the hymns or the...
Yes.
Can you say something?
Well, of course, that's Yoga Maya. Krishna actually doesn't have any flaw, but for the sake of rasa, then we call it a flaw. Just like Krishna has no lust, but our acharyas are all the time saying how lusty Krishna is. So it's like that. The transcendental duality, the qualities and the flaws are one and the same thing. And in mundane duality, the qualities and flaws are also one and the same thing. But they're negative. The qualities are negative, the flaws are negative. And in the spiritual world, the qualities are positive, the flaws are also positive. This is the point. This is absolute vision. And materialists, you cannot expect that they'll have it because they're faithless. Yes, you wanted to add something?
Very wonderful class. In a Kali Yuga statement, everybody is born like Shudra.
Yes.
So my question is, what is stake to really get taste for study scriptures? You mentioned in class how
service to the devotees.
What the stake?
This is the question raised in chapter 2 of the Bhagavatam, text number 15. Kona kuryad yadiratim. Who won't take interest in hearing Bhagavatam, having understood that this Bhagavatam will purify you from all sinful reactions? Who will not be interested? And Sridhar Swami in his commentary answers the question. There is a class of person who will not be interested. Well, that's another, that's also true. But, somebody, it's actually very common that we're not interested in hearing. That's why we don't read the books. It's proven by the fact that only 2 people in this room know that verse. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati yakinchana. We don't have a taste. But we can get a taste. And he says, therefore he speaks this verse, Shru Shru Shro Shradhanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syanmahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat. By serving the Punya Tirtha, Punya Tirtha being described by the commentators as the sinless person. And what kind of seva do? You do Mahat Seva, you do big service for somebody who's actually sinless. Then you will get a taste. So Srila Prabhupada is undoubtedly a sinless person, great, pure devotee. It's proven by the fact that he's created so many others. So by serving him, automatically we will become elevated, we will gain a taste. We just have to be patient and determined and keep on going according to the formula that Rupa Goswami gives in his Upadeshamritam, first 2-3 verses. So, Mahat Seva means either you're serving a Mahatma or you're doing great service. Either way. But by that service. What is the service to Srila Prabhupada? You follow his instructions. Simple. He says, whatever I have done, just as I'm doing, you do. Simple. Just as I've helped you, you help others. You distribute books, you follow these principles. Easy thing. That's all. It's a simple process. We just have to be patient, determined, act accordingly to the rules and regulations, avoid the wrong association, etc., as we've discussed. Okay? All right. Thank you all very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Another